Now, no doubt many of you would have noticed this photo collage behind me as I do these pastor's discs. They're the photos of my daughter Abigail, and I assume that many of you already know that she is our third daughter, who was born very sick, and she lived a few days before she died. A few days ago, on June 25th, we celebrated her birthday. She'd still be with us. She would be 9 this year. Faye, Stacy, and I, we shed a few tears as we reminisced about the few days that we got to spend with her. Maya, she couldn't really remember much. She was too young. Zoe was a bit annoyed and irritated and upset that she never got to meet Abby. Now, one of the things that we did to reminisce was to read through some of the notes that I written when Faith was admitted, when she was sick, and when Abby was sick in Faith's tummy. I wrote about 1 to 2 notes on Facebook per day during those 4 days that we were in the hospital. I want to share one of the things that I wrote on those notes as a bit of an encouragement for the present time. It has to do with receiving grace, especially during trouble and crisis. About receiving grace during trouble and crisis. Now, a few people asked me during that time how I managed to write those notes in that kind of situation. They asked, I would have been all kinds of worried for Faith and for Abby, stressed and tired, and just being consumed by all that was happening. And I was. It was a very traumatic and difficult period. And it would have been tempting to just bunker down as a family and to keep everything kind of self-contained. And in many ways, we could have done so. We were managing quite well, given the situation. We were doing okay. We were managing. And to have to involve other people, to have to write notes and to send messages and to make and receive phone calls, would have been tiring. To have people hear people's well-intentioned encouragements and advice, and even platitudes that people tend to give at situations like this. To have people perhaps be a bit too pushy in wanting to help and to be present. You know what it's like, isn't it? Sometimes when you're going through trouble, you just don't want people around. It can be tiring and draining, and it can even be frustrating and upsetting when you include people in your troubles. And certainly it was tempting for us to just manage by ourselves. But we didn't, because we were convinced that we have been saved to be part of God's family, that we've been saved to be the family of Christ, that we're brothers and sisters, that we're to share our lives with each other. We are to bear each other's burdens. And so at that time, we made a conscious decision to write those notes and to send those messages and to take those calls and even to have people come and visit Faith and Abby in the ICU. We even got people to help us to organize help in different ways. And we did this because our crisis gave the church family the opportunity to show us grace. And it gave the opportunity for us to humble ourselves to receive help and grace from others. And in one of the notes that I wrote, I said, we thank God that He has given you the opportunity to show us such grace. And we are thankful to be the very happy and blessed recipients. And I wrote those words, which sounds kind of strange, like I'm thankful for the opportunity I gave you to help me. It just reminded me of what the Apostle Paul, or I was reminded by what the Apostle Paul said in Philippians chapter 4. This is what Paul said. Yet it was kind of you to share my trouble, and you Philippians yourselves know that in the beginning of the gospel, when I left Macedonia, no church entered into partnership with me in giving and receiving except you only. Even in Thessalonica, you sent me help for my needs once and again. Not that I seek the gift, but I seek the fruit that increases to your credit. Now, Paul is talking about financial support here, of course, but the principle remains true for any gift of grace that we're given or that is given during trouble. What Paul is basically saying here in this passage is, it's not me really needing and wanting the gift, but in asking for your help, I'm giving you, my brothers and sisters, the opportunity to show grace, to bear the fruit of the gospel as you give and as you serve. Now, for me and for my family during that time, it would have been easy to bunker down and to refuse to reach out to the church. But that would have just been, in a way, a denial, isn't it? Or a rejection of the relationship that we have with the church. We are a family. It would also have denied the church the opportunity to care for us, to be able to express love to us, to show grace to us, to be able to bear the fruit of faith. You see, in times of trouble, I really would hope that you would reach out. If not for your own sake, then for our sake, for us as the church, for your brothers and sisters, to be able to show you grace, for us to be able to express and bear the fruit of the gospel that we've been saved by. Now, it's a humbling thing, isn't it, to ask for help and to receive help. Like I said, we possibly would have coped pretty well on our own. Possibly. And in some ways, it might have been less troublesome if we didn't ask for help. But that's really just pride speaking, isn't it? That's a false humility in that kind of self-reliance, in saying, I'm fine on my own, I can cope. It's kind of a false humility, a pride that prevents us from opening our lives up to other people. Asking for help and receiving it is humbling. But humility is a wonderful thing. We ought to be humbling ourselves towards each other. Receiving grace really is a great thing. It's a family thing, and it's a gospel-centered thing. Now, we all go through life with troubles of many kinds, big and small. I know many of you are going through troubles right now. And so the question is, will you give us the opportunity to show you grace? And will you humbly receive it?